Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, I'm Christine. I'm owner and content creator of bloomingbrilliant.net, where I share educational resources, parenting advice, and of course information about homeschooling. I'm a homeschool mom of two. I homeschool my daughter who is 13 and my son who is 9 right here in Brooklyn, New York, and I love to share a homeschooling journey with you. Today we're going to be doing 23 questions for 2023. So I have my list right here, and we're going to be talking about some of these questions that have come in, and there's 23 of them for celebrating 2023. So let's get into it. So question number 1 is, why have you chosen to homeschool your child? So I have 2 children. I have chosen to homeschool them because, well, I started homeschooling back officially in 2016. My daughter actually went to traditional school for first grade. She wasn't being challenged, and she was in the gifted and talented program here in New York. And it was a very good school, a very good teacher. She did thrive socially there. She did enjoy it. I enjoyed her being there, like it wasn't any kind of I don't have any kind of problems with traditional school per se, but she wasn't being challenged, so we decided to go back to homeschooling because she was being homeschooled for the preschool and kindergarten years, and we were also doing early childhood education activities with her when she was like a toddler and little, and so we kind of just went back to that, and her brother just fell right into it as well. He just wanted to be home and wanted to be with her and wanted to be with me, so we just homeschooled him as well. Question number 2, how do you plan on organizing your child's homeschooling schedule? So I homeschool and I plan their schedules out in a variety of ways because it's taken us a long time to find something that works. But what's working for us lately is I use my planner to plan everything out. And if you don't know, I created a planner, so I'll drop the link to that in the description box. But I digress. Any planner will do. You could use a plain notebook. And I write out what needs to be learned throughout the year. So here in New York, we have to fill out an individualized home instruction plan, which is basically a syllabus. So if you went to high school or college, you've most likely seen a syllabus, but it's a plan for what is going to be taught for the year. Now here in New York, they require that you fill one of those out, but it doesn't have to be, super granular. It doesn't have to be super specific and detailed. You're just basically listing, what you're using to teach. So I use that as a way to say, well, we're going to be learning these subjects and how we could break that down into each quarter, and then from each quarter into each month, and then into each week and so. And I have to revise our plans all the time, and because we take time off whenever, for me, it's whenever we need it, and also we'll take off for holidays and such. So I need to, revise our plan and make sure that we're still on target each time. One thing with scheduling that has helped us out recently is devoting certain days to certain subjects. So usually Monday and Tuesday, I have a variety of subjects being taught, which is usually our core subjects like math, reading, English, language arts, writing, kind of all thrown into those first 2 days with a huge focus, right? And then Wednesday we do our history, and sometimes I think we do our art history that day too. I kind of mix those around because sometimes we won't do art history with history. We'll do it with science, which is the next day on Thursday. Thursday we focus on science, and on Friday we do a remainder of subjects that we need to make sure that we're getting to. So that's been working for us. And we have certain kind of routine of we'll do this, that, and the other, but we're not super strict with you have to have every morning by 9 o'clock your math complete or something like that. We are more we have to get these things done on this day, and then we are complete. We also don't homeschool for hours on end. We try to aim for 2 to 3 hours, but it depends again on the age of your child and on their focus level. So this is like actual sitting down, doing the work and focusing to 2 to 3 hours, not breaks, not, preparing, not all that. What curriculum or resources will you be using to teach your child? I use a ton of different resources and curriculum, so it's hard to like sit here without like all the books piled up and all the platforms and things that we use and like show them off. So just off the top of my head, a couple of things that we are using this year is Bookshark. We're using Bookshark for history. I try to combine our subjects like history and science, even though there is a 4-year age gap. I try to aim for the middle, and so I'll like alter things as much as possible. But I feel like even then I'm filling in some gaps for my daughter who's older, and we are setting up a good foundation for my younger son so that it works for both of them. So we're using Bookshark mostly for history, as well as some other things to make sure that she's getting everything she needs. We're doing Dr. Robin's School of Pre-Medicine for Science. We have been using Brave Writer, the Arrow. No, we're not using the Arrow this year. This is our first year with the Boomerang. And we're also using the Dart for my son. So it's a lot of reading in our homeschool right now. My daughter, for math, we use Mr. D Math. And for my son, he is in like a mix of math courses in order to find like the perfect fit. But we have used Math UC and Khan Academy kind of together to make sure that he is getting on target with his grade level for math. I think the next question is how to ensure that my child is receiving a well-rounded education. So I don't think that I know everything. I definitely rely on the curriculum and the things that we use in order to teach. Another class that we have in our homeschool is technology, and my daughter takes this class and she does My Tech. It's My Tech Lab, and I don't teach it. I don't know most of the things that are going on like technically in it, but I rely on them to be teaching her technology. The same thing with math. The math from Mr. D Math is Mr. D teaching her math. So I don't need to, relearn math or struggle with trying to figure out the best way to teach math, especially with algebra and everything. I'm relying on these platforms in order to teach, and I think that helps give a well-rounded education because it's not just one person. You're getting a variety of perspectives and points of view when it comes to learning and teaching. Also, even with our history, I specifically chose Bookshark because it's not just one textbook. It is a plethora of books that are coming from all different authors, which gives us different points of view on history. It's not just one person's story, it's a variety of stories, and then we can weed out what is accurate and what isn't, or what is more, not really that it's accurate, it's more what is opinion and what is more likely to be fact. And history is a hard subject, but that's just an example. And making sure that your kids are involved in different things really does help make sure that they're having a well-rounded education. The next question is how to handle subjects that you're not confident in teaching. I think that this is also could go in hand in hand with the answer that I just gave, but something like math that I might not feel like super confident in when it comes to like algebra and all the advanced math classes. And that's relying on other platforms and other teachers to teach it. There is no saying that because you're homeschooling, you have to be the teacher for every single subject. Not in this day and age. There are tons of ways. Like you can go to a tutor, you can have a program via the internet, you can, work with in a homeschool co-op and have another parent teach. There are plenty of ways to find another way to provide the education your child needs and it not come from you if you're not confident in the subject. And there's also nothing wrong with learning alongside your child. It's actually really beneficial, and your kids like see that, and it's good because we're always all learning and growing. The next question is, how will you handle potential socialization issues with your child? There are no socialization issues with our children usually. Maybe under severe situations there could be, but for the most part, homeschool children are plenty able to socialize with people from all different backgrounds, all different ages, because they are with us. So when we are out and about in the community and we're social and we're talking to people, they are too. You know, they're also around, and they're also able to join things in their community that they might not have been because they were stuck in a classroom at that time of day, you know, and they have still the same advantages of being able to do extracurricular activities and all kinds of things that are to their interest. So socialization is not really an issue when it comes to homeschooling. Just making sure that you are providing, you know, ways for your kid to be out and about, which can sometimes be a challenge to find the time to do that when there are so many things going on, so many interests, and the pandemic definitely put a little strain on that. So I think all kids right now are struggling a little bit with social anxiety, social stress, but I don't think that it is an isolated issue with homeschoolers, and I also don't think that homeschoolers have a increased likelihood of having social issues. So don't let me get on my soapbox for this socialization question, but I love that it came in. Usually that's like a number one question, but here. Let's go to the next question. Question number 7. How will you balance homeschooling with your own work and other responsibilities? And I think that's a great question, especially as a full-time homeschool entrepreneur mom right here. It is not easy, and I say this often. It is not easy to do all the things. So some tips, if you will, are to have a routine. So our routine currently with the way my work schedule is that our school happens during the day. As early in the morning as it can, because we don't wake up super early. So like by 10 o'clock, make sure that we are doing school, that we have a couple of hours to get our schoolwork done, you know, and that it's that devoted time to our homeschool. And then we have, you know, whatever else that's going on. My work day starts in the afternoon, late afternoon, evening, and that's my work time. So luckily I'm able to work remotely, so I'm still around. I don't have to find childcare and stuff like that. But if you do work outside the home, you do have to find childcare. You do have to rely on your community a little bit. You do have to, if you have a mom that can help out, or a mother-in-law that can help out, that is great. You know, you cannot do it all alone. But the way that I do it is, yes, I have my mom that I rely on occasionally, but a lot of the, like I said, day-to-day stuff is on my shoulders, because like I said, I'm a solo, full-time working homeschool mom, entrepreneur. So it's hard to do all the things, but it's worth it. And you got to be careful though of burnout, and that's another video, but it's possible. It's possible to do. It's just you need to have a routine, schedule kind of thing in order, and be very clear with your kids, depending on their age, and just knowing that this is what you have to do in order to get all the things done. Question number 8. How will you assess your child's progress and learning? So you assess, or we assess the learning and the growing and the how they're doing, their progress, right? We assess their progress by their coursework, like how much of their coursework can they complete without assistance, without looking back at the notes, whatever. Also, we have to, it's required here in New York that at least every other year from like 5th grade to 8th grade that they need to be tested with the standardized test, but I'm a firm believer in it because we take tests as adults all often, whether it is to get our driver's license or whether it is to get a job or whether it is to, whatever. There's hoops that we have to go through. There's exams that we have to take. We have to know how to, how to react under pressure. And having tests might not be the best thing all the time, but it can be beneficial, and it's a great way to assess where your child is at, what they have learned throughout the year, what they need help on. It doesn't have to be make or break. Like, this is not like the end of the world if they don't do well on it. It's just assessing where they're at, and it does give great insight to you, the homeschool parent, of what you need to focus in on more. So assessments, looking at coursework, even like assessments from the curriculum, if you're like trying to find placement, those are great too. So those are all great ways in order to check your child's progress and also like see where they're at. Question number 9, how do you handle discipline and behavior issues during homeschooling? That's a hard one, I think, because it's really up to you as a parent. I don't think that your discipline or to behavioral issues changes from when you're doing your homeschooling to when you're parenting. I think that you should make it clear that homeschool or your school time, your lessons time, whatever you call it, is time dedicated to that and that it's important. But you would be disciplining your child the same way you discipline them on a regular basis. And how I deal with any kind of issues, it depends on the day. If I am burnt out, I'm not my best, but we just try to go with the flow of things. If things are hard in our homeschool, I try to stop and refocus to do different things in order, like do something fun or do something that will bring us back into what needs to be done. It's hard because there is a lot of pressure to get our stuff done, especially with so many things on our plates. So if you're a homeschooling mom but also working full time, you have like this pressure of, I got to get all my stuff done before work, and we can't do this for 7 hours. Like, just get your work done, just sit still, just focus. And I get that. But being able to just talk to your child, see when they're struggling, and stop and just say, okay, we can get back to this tomorrow. Let's move on to a different subject, or let's just take a break. Definitely helps. Question number 10, how do you support your child's extracurricular interest and activities? I think as homeschoolers, we have the benefit of being able to devote more attention and time and energy to our children's extracurricular interest and activities because we have more time, in a sense. Our school day is not 9 to 3 or 8 to 3 or whatever the freaking school schedule is nowadays. We are able to extend our schedules and, take time from different areas. Like, if your kid is interested in like sports, then that counts as school, number one, because there's discipline that's being learned, group teamwork and all that stuff. But also, and that's like phys ed, but you're able to devote more time and energy to that interest that they have, right? And you can also connect a lot of regular school, like reading and writing and things like that, and even math, to that interest if it was sports, right? Or even if it was cooking. And for example, there was a season where my daughter was very much into blogging on her own, and she may still be interested in this, but she hasn't lately. So I say there was a time, but there was a time when she was doing that, and she was starting her own like little thing, and being able to give her the time, the energy to devote on her interest, it was beneficial to her, as well as like she does all kinds of cool things. So yeah, in music, so many things, and just being able to give them that time and space to grow, support them in whatever way you can, providing what you can, depending on your situation. But making time for things like that, for extracurricular activities and interest, and finding classes, whether they're online or in person or whatever, depending on what interest it is, doing the work together, and supporting them and making sure that they do whatever you pay for and then they can give it up if they change interest, but at least while you paid for it, or even making them find a way to pay for it. Okay, but we're going into a whole different thing, so I'm gonna go on to the next question. Number 11. How do you handle difficult or sensitive subjects with your child? Difficult and sensitive subjects. I'm not sure what that is, because we talk about everything, and there's really no topics that are off the table. Like, I'm an open book, and I want my kids to be able to talk to me about everything. And I mean, I guess there are times when things are difficult, but I think being transparent that I don't know everything, and that I'm learning a lot of stuff alongside them, or just on this journey of parenting, and also, talking, just asking questions and being there is the best answer that I can give. Like, difficult stuff, we just go and do it. We don't hide from it, and we talk a lot. Question number 12. How do you handle any conflicts or issues that arise with your child's learning? So if there's issues with our child's learning, we just go back. Honestly, there is times where they have struggled with things, and they should be somewhere else, ahead, back, I don't know. We just go where they're at. And I think that is a huge mantra for me, especially this past year, is where are you? Like, where are you at? And just focus on where you're at. Don't think about where you were. Don't think about where you think you should be. Focus on where you currently are, and don't stress about it. Just do that work. Do the work for that, and everything else will unfold as it should. So if you see that your child is struggling with something, zoom it back a little, like rewind a little bit, go a little bit before that, and recover the subject, and just don't quit until it's got, like, until they learned it, until they are confident with it. And then it will all unfold as it should, on their own pace. Following your child's own pace is the way to go. Question number 13. How do you keep your child motivated and engaged in their learning? I think just making sure that they know what they have to do helps. Knowing how to use the stuff that they are using helps. Letting them, have a little say in what they're learning and how they're learning it helps. Those are all ways that help get your child motivated, and, kind of gear things towards their interest if you can. That helps a lot too. Starting things with what they're interested in. Like, if you're going to start school for the day, starting with the thing that they're most interested in helps them, get focused. And then, having like something sweet at the end, so something else that they might be interested in, or something really fun at the end of the day to look forward to, also helps. And even in between, like, little things really helps them stay focused and motivated. Just like little fun benchmarks in your homeschool day, that helps. Question 14. How will you handle holidays and other breaks from homeschooling? Well, we do a variety of different things. Sometimes we just most of the time, we just take a break lately. It's just like, no school. You don't have to worry about anything. When we come back, we just start over again when we ease into it. But there have been times where we would do very light work during breaks in order to just keep the routine up. And I think sometimes when you have little kids, that is important. And also they find school and learning a lot of fun. So our kids are always learning, whether we are saying that it is considered school or not. But that's how we do our holidays and breaks. We take our break and we come back. We have a break date and we start back up date. Question number 15, how do I keep myself motivated and organized as a homeschooling parent? I use my planner. I give myself pep talks. I share things with you guys, and that keeps me really motivated and excited about homeschooling. I listen to other homeschoolers and read what they're putting out, and learn from all of you guys, like cool things to try out and do. And if I'm feeling stuck or burnt out in our homeschool or not motivated, I go back to something that I find truly fun and get the kids in on it, or that they find really fun, and like get my hands in there too, get into it, so that way I'm experiencing it too. When we're having like sluggish days, a documentary is not the worst thing, or a movie even, and like then having like just a discussion about it really does help. Reading is always the go-to when nothing else is working, like just reading a book and calling it the school for the day helps. And being able to give yourself that grace to say, like, this was a not so great day or week, but we'll get back on track. And that just giving yourself some of that grace will help you get momentum back, get motivated again. And yeah, just know that you're not alone. Know that all homeschool parents and traditional school parents are going through some sort of feeling of like struggle or not motivated. I mean, we all get tired of doing things, the same thing. So changing it up, going on field trips, things like that really do like infuse some life back into your homeschool. And for organization, I have a whole like system, and I've shared it, but I'll share it again. Well, that's another video. That's not right now. Like, I can't sit here and break down. This video is going to be so long. Anyway, next question. Question number 16. How do you handle potential financial costs associated with homeschooling? I budget. How I set up my year, but at the beginning of the year I have a whole list of all the finances, all the things I have to pay for, and it's broken down from month and overall year, and how much money overall I need to make for the year in order to pay for everything. And guess what's on there? Homeschooling. And I have a homeschooling budget, so I know how much my curriculum should cost. I give myself a certain amount, and that has to be able to be paid for. So for us currently in our situation that we're in, we have a homeschooling budget, and we make sure to stick to that as much as, no, we have to stick to that, otherwise something can't be done. And that's the only way that works. Homeschooling budget for the win. Question number 17. How do you handle legal or regulatory requirements for homeschooling here in New York? I share all about that. I share with you all the forms that we have to fill out and all the things that we have to do, like testing and things like that. So I just do it. I just, it's not that hard. The first year was a little bit scary and kind of made me procrastinate a bit, but I get it done. I fill out the individualized home instruction plan every end of June and send it in, or not really. In June, I send in the letter of intent. In August, I send in the individualized home instruction plan. Then we get the quarterly reports in every quarter, and we just got everything going, You just do it. You just do it. Once you get that system in, like you know when everything goes out and you have all the forms ready, you just plug everything in and go. So the next question is number 18. How do you communicate with your child's former school or any other educational institutions? So the only experience I have with this is that I wrote the school a letter when I decided that I was going to withdraw my child from school. I did talk to actually her teacher fairly recently, like right after or right in the midst of COVID. We discussed like just how she was doing and things like that. We were just like a personal communication. But yeah, I have no problem talking to people from school, and didn't have to communicate with the school much because she was leaving first grade, and we haven't gone into any other school institutions for anything except for like religious education, which we did for a little bit, and that was that. So yeah, nothing crazy there that I had to worry about. So yeah, and in the future, I feel like it's not going to be a problem. I know I'm learning a lot now for what I need for next year for high school, which we plan to continue to homeschool through high school. So yeah. Question number 19. How do you handle any potential transportation issues for field trips or other activities? A lot of the transportation that we do for field trips and activities are personal things, so we do them as a family, so we come up with the transportation. But here in New York, you actually get a student metro card, which is very helpful. So you can take public transportation during like school hours, and also you can work with a co-op, so you can get group rates on things like in museums and such, which is really great as well. So those are ways that we handle like potential transportation issues and any like field trip kind of issues, you know, working with groups and stuff. How do you question 20, how do you handle any potential medical or special needs for your child during homeschooling? For us, anything that has been medical or special needs related would be coming out of our stuff, like our pocket, but that's because of the way that our homeschool is set up. I think there are, especially here in New York, there are things that you are entitled to, so you'd have to do some more research. I know I have some research for that, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I haven't had any of these issues though, so it's hard for me to say anything about it. Like my son had taken speech therapy for a few weeks, but that was us doing it. We went through our medical insurance, and yeah. So question 21. How do you handle any potential emotional or mental health issues that may arise with your child? The same thing as medical or special needs. These are things that if you are a good parent, you talk to your children, you know if they're having a medical issue that you take them to the doctor, you know that if they have special needs issue that you get them the therapy or the support that they need. If they're having a mental health issue, you try to support that as much as possible, you know, with tips and tools and whatever techniques, and also of course mental health support, so going to see a therapist, and that's not, it has no impact, or your homeschool should have no impact on that. Like your child should be able to thrive more without like outside stigma. They should be able to come to you and tell you like, this is something I'm struggling with, and you know, and you should be able to be there and support them and give them the tools that they need to get through whatever they're going through. So I think that this is only an issue if you maybe, I can see like you could get stressed because a lot of people look, or used to, I don't know if this is still the case because I haven't seen it as much, but looked so down on homeschooling that it felt like that was an issue for everything. So if your child was struggling mentally, it was like because you're a homeschooler. Or if your child was struggling in school, it's because you're homeschooling. But nowadays, I don't feel like that stigma is as prevalent, but I'm sure it's still here. I hope that answered that. And number 22, how do you handle any potential challenges or obstacles that may arise during your homeschooling journey? Flexibility. I you just got to be flexible. Any obstacles and challenges, you go with them. You just, you get through them somehow. This is like life, Homeschooling is a lifestyle, So if your child is struggling with something, or something in your life is like messed up and you have to deal with it, you just, deal with it. You deal with it the best you can. You rely on the people that, love and support you and that you trust, and you figure it out with your family, with your kids. So yeah, relying on people, that helps. Even though it's hard for some of us to rely on others, isn't it? It is. I could see myself struggle with that a little bit. But anyway. Our last question, question 23. How do you handle any potential challenges or obstacles that may arise in your personal or family life that may impact your homeschooling efforts? I've only had minor, to me they're minor. I don't think they were anything huge. Like, luckily we haven't had any crazy health issues or anything, because I could see that really affecting our homeschool. But you find a way. Whether that might be that you have to put your kid back into school, but for us, what we have gone through so far has all been minimal. It's been like, oh, we had to miss a day of school, or a week of school, or we had to, change the way we do things, or we had to change our budget and we didn't have, don't have as much, or we don't have enough time, or we have to change our schedule because my work schedule changed, things like that. Have been the only things so far that I have experienced. So from my experience, that's what I can say. You just figure it out along the way. But if it was something that was huge and stuff, if it had to be, then I would have to send them to school, or I would have to rely on others to help in some way. So those are our 23 questions for 2023, our homeschool related questions, and I hope that you guys found this interesting. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Don't forget to check the description box, because there's always fun stuff in there, and I'll see you guys next week with another video. I hope you guys have a great day and happy homeschooling.